Today, we uncover the shocking truth about banned chemicals put in our everyday British foods. The 6 ingredients banned across the EU, but still perfectly legal here in the UK and the US. We're talking about additives that the European Food Safety Authority deemed too dangerous for human consumption. Yet they're sitting in supermarket shelves right now, and maybe in your cupboards, in products you buy every week from Tesco's, Sainsbury's, Asda, and Morrison's. Chemicals which are used in the production of white paint and yoga mats put into our bread, bakery goods, breakfast cereals, sweets, yogurts, and packaged snacks that millions of families are consuming daily. The EU looked at the evidence and said no, but UK regulators, they're still allowing it. So today, I'm going to walk you through 6 food additives that are banned in the EU but remain completely legal in British food. I'll tell you exactly what they are, where they're hiding, and why they shouldn't be put into our bodies. And most importantly, why we're being treated like second-class citizens when it comes to our food safety. But before we dive in, if you find this kind of information valuable, I need you to hit that like button and absolutely smash the hype button right now. And this actually makes a difference. Every single time someone hypes this video, more people across the country are informed that they're consuming chemicals that the rest of Europe deemed too dangerous years ago. Think about that for a second. Right now, there's someone loading up their weekly shop at Tesco, throwing products in their trolley, having no idea that what they're buying contains additives that other countries have declared too dangerous for humans to consume. Your hype gets this information in front of them. This is how we fight back, not by waiting for regulators to suddenly develop an angelic conscience, but by spreading the truth so widely that these food companies can't hide anymore. When millions of British shoppers start asking questions, start avoiding certain products, that's when change happens. That's when boardrooms panic and reformulation meetings get scheduled. You clicking that hype button right now is you joining thousands of others who are saying enough is enough. We're not accepting second-rate food safety standards anymore. So do it now. Hype this video. Then drop a comment telling me which of these additives you already knew about and which shocked you the most, because I read every single one and your voice matters in this fight. And if this is your first time here, subscribe, because I'm not stopping until UK food standards match or exceed the protections our European neighbours already have.
Number 1. Azodicarbonamide. Let's start with something that will absolutely make your jaw drop. Most people have never heard of it, but if you've eaten packaged bread, hamburger buns, or hot dog rolls recently, you've almost certainly consumed it. Here's what makes this chemical so shocking. It's primarily used in the production of foamed plastics. That's right, the same chemical that makes your yoga mat soft and springy, that creates the foam padding in your trainers, is also added to your bread. The plastics industry loves it because when heated, it releases gases that create tiny bubbles in materials, making them light, flexible, and spongy. That bouncy feeling when you step on your yoga mat, that's azodicarbonamide doing its job. And food manufacturers are using that exact same industrial foaming agent in commercial bread production. They add it as a dough conditioner to make bread dough easier to handle at scale and to make the finished loaf appear fluffier and more voluminous. Think about that for a second. The chemical used to manufacture yoga mats and flip-flops is being mixed into the bread we feed our children. It's not there for nutrition, it's not there for flavor, it's there purely to make industrial bread production more efficient and the final product look more appealing. It serves absolutely no benefit to you as the consumer. Did any of us ask for this, to make our bread artificially springy? None whatsoever. It's a processing convenience for manufacturers that you're ingesting whether you like it or not. The European Union banned azodicarbonamide from food entirely. Australia banned it. It's not permitted in food across most of the developed world, but in the UK and the US, completely legal. The FDA allows up to 45 parts per million in flour. Here's what really bothers me about this one. When azodicarbonamide breaks down during baking, it forms semicarbazide, a compound that studies have shown can cause cancer in laboratory animals. One mother wrote online about how she'd been buying what she thought were premium bakery products from her local supermarket, feeding them to her kids for breakfast daily, only to discover every single loaf contained azodicarbonamide. She'd checked the ingredient lists properly for the first time and found it listed under the E number E927A. She'd been unknowingly exposing her children to a yoga mat chemical for years, simply because she trusted that if it was on supermarket shelves, it must be safe. The really insidious part is that azodicarbonamide isn't even always clearly labeled. Sometimes it appears discreetly as flour treatment agent, or other names people conveniently wouldn't recognize. And why are manufacturers so keen on using it? Because it's cheap and it makes mass production easier for them. They can process dough faster, get more consistent results, and produce a product that stays soft longer on the shelf, all while passing the health costs onto you and your children. What can you do about this? Buy from artisanal bakeries that use traditional methods. Better yet, if you have the time, make your own bread. I know that's not realistic for everyone, but even making a simple sourdough once a week means you're avoiding this chemical at least some of the time. And when you're buying packaged bread, check the ingredients. If you see azodicarbonamide or E927A, put it back on the shelf. Number 2. Potassium bromate. Next up, we have potassium bromate, another flour treatment agent that's used to make bread dough stronger and allow it to rise higher. It's added purely to improve the texture and appearance of commercial baked goods, cosmetics, you could say. Once again, it's not there for your benefit. It's there to make the manufacturing process more predictable and the end product more visually appealing. And again, who asked for any of this? Here's where it gets properly disturbing. Potassium bromate isn't just used in food. It's also used in permanent wave solutions for hair, where it acts as a neutralizing agent at concentrations between 5 and 25%. It's used in the cosmetics industry as an oxidizer, and it has industrial applications as a laboratory reagent. The International Agency for Research on Cancer has classified potassium bromate as a possible human carcinogen. When rats and mice were given potassium bromate in their diet, they developed kidney tumors, thyroid tumors, and peritoneal mesotheliomas at significantly higher rates than control groups. The UK actually banned potassium bromate over 30 years ago. So why am I including it in this video? Because they left an obvious loophole. It's allowed to be imported through baked goods. So if you're eating bread, cakes, or pastries that were manufactured abroad, particularly from the US where it's still perfectly legal, you could absolutely be consuming potassium bromate. American fast food chains operating in the UK sometimes use bread products containing bromate because they're importing their specifications directly from the States. And US food manufacturers who export to the UK aren't always required to reformulate their products to meet EU standards now that we've left the European Union. One consumer reported buying what they thought was a premium burger bun from a well-known American-style diner chain, only to discover later that the buns were made with bromated flour. They'd been assured the food was safe, but the reality is that post-Brexit, the enforcement around these banned additives has become far less clear. So while we technically banned it decades ago, there are still pathways for it to end up on British plates. The FDA in the US still allows potassium bromate. They've urged bakers not to use it since 1991, but they haven't mandated a ban, so it's still widely used in American commercial baking. And when American food products come into the UK, that bromate is often coming with them. So avoid American fast food chains and try to buy your bread from bakeries that use traditional fermentation methods and don't rely on chemical dough conditioners at all. Number 3. The artificial sweetness. Now let's talk about artificial sweetness, specifically aspartame. This one is everywhere. Diet fizzy drinks, sugar-free chewing gum, low-calorie yogurts, protein powders, sugar-free sweets, and pretty much any product marketed as diet or zero sugar. Aspartame has been sold to the public for decades as a safe alternative to sugar. The promise is simple. You get the sweet taste without the calories. Sounds perfect, right? Except it's not. Here's the issue. Aspartame is a synthetic chemical sweetener that your body metabolizes into methanol, aspartic acid, and phenylalanine. Now, in small amounts, these compounds occur naturally in foods, and your body can handle them.
But aspartame delivers them in concentrations that don't occur in nature, and mounting evidence suggests that regular consumption disrupts your gut microbiome, alters glucose metabolism, and causes systemic inflammation. Think of it like this. Your body is a high-performance engine designed to run on premium fuel. When you put in artificial sweeteners instead of real food, it's like running a petrol car on diesel. It might work for a bit, the engine will run, but over time you're causing damage that accumulates until something goes horribly wrong. Your metabolism gets confused, your gut bacteria gets disrupted, and your body's ability to regulate blood sugar actually gets worse, not better. A major study following over 120,000 people found that artificially sweetened beverages significantly increased the risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And this wasn't from massive consumption. Even 1 can of diet fizzy drink per day was linked to higher liver-related mortality. 1 can. That's what someone might have with lunch and think nothing of it. One customer wrote about how they'd switched to diet drinks years ago, trying to be healthier. They'd cut out regular fizzy drinks completely, thinking they were making the right choice, but they kept having brain fog, fatigue. When they finally took a break from the diet drinks and artificial sweeteners from their life entirely, and within weeks they felt dramatically better. The brain fog lifted and their energy came back. I have to be honest, even I love an occasional Diet Coke here and there, but once I heard this, I never looked at it the same way again. The food industry markets these products as health foods, zero sugar, diet, guilt-free. But in reality, you're trading one set of problems for another set that might actually be worse. Natural sugar in moderation is something your body understands and can process. Artificial sweeteners are foreign chemicals that your system doesn't know how to handle properly. Now, aspartame isn't outright banned in the EU, but the European Food Safety Authority has repeatedly raised concerns about it, and several EU countries have much stricter regulations around its use than we do in the UK. And the World Health Organization's Cancer Agency classified aspartame as possibly carcinogenic to humans. What can you do about this? If you're craving something sweet, try having a small amount of the real thing. A quarter teaspoon of raw honey, a piece of fruit. Your body knows what to do with real sugar. It doesn't know what to do with aspartame. And if you're drinking diet fizzy drinks regularly, I'd seriously consider stopping. Replace them with sparkling water, herbal tea, or just plain water. Your liver will thank you. Number 4. BHA and BHT preservatives. Let's move on to BHA and BHT. These are synthetic preservatives, butylated hydroxyanisole and butylated hydroxytoluene if you want the full names, and they're used to prevent fats and oils from going rancid in processed foods. They extend shelf life by stopping oxidation. Once again, they're there for the manufacturer's convenience, not for your health. Here's what makes these particularly troubling. BHA and BHT are petroleum-derived chemicals. They're literally made from petroleum, the same stuff that goes in your car. And they're used widely, not just in food, but in industrial applications. BHT is used in jet fuel, hydraulic fluids, and turbine oils in the petroleum industry. It's used in rubber production. It's added to transformer oils and embalming fluid. BHA is used in the manufacture of rubber, tires, and petroleum products. So the same chemicals used to stabilize jet fuel and preserve bodies are also in your breakfast cereal, packaged snacks, and chewing gum. Let that sink in for a moment. You're eating petroleum derivatives these days, every time you have a bowl of certain cereals or a packet of crisps. Now, the doses are small. The industry will tell you it's perfectly safe at the levels used in food. But here's the problem. These chemicals are classified as possible human carcinogens and endocrine disruptors. That means they could cause cancer and they interfere with your hormones. The European Union has banned or severely restricted BHA and BHT due to cancer concerns. But in the UK and the US, they're still widely used in processed foods. One thing that really concerns me is how these chemicals accumulate in your body. They're lipophilic, meaning they love fat. They get stored in your fat tissue and in your organs, building up over time. So even though each individual exposure might be small, the cumulative effect over years of eating processed foods containing these preservatives can be significant.
A consumer mentioned online that they'd been struggling with unexplained hormonal issues for years, irregular cycles, mood swings, fatigue. They tried everything. When they finally took a complete overhaul of their diet and eliminated all processed foods containing BHA and BHT, their hormonal issues started to improve within months. So, what can you do to avoid BHA and BHT? Check ingredient lists carefully. Try and be on the lookout for BHA, BHT, E320 or E321. And if you see it, put it back. Look for products that use natural preservatives instead, like vitamin E, which is listed as tocopherols or herbal rosemary.
And the best solution, as always, is to eat fewer packaged processed foods altogether. If it doesn't need preservatives because you're making it fresh, then you're not ingesting these chemicals in the first place. I understand that's easier said than done. Not everyone has time to cook from scratch every day. But even small changes help. Swap your packaged granola for homemade oats with fruit. Every bit of exposure you avoid is a win. Number 5. Artificial food dyes Red 40 and Yellow 5. Now we're getting into something that targets children especially. Artificial food dyes, specifically Red 40 and Yellow 5. These are petroleum-based synthetic chemicals used to make food look more vibrant and appealing. They're in brightly coloured cereals, sweets, sports drinks, flavoured yogurts, cake mixes, ice lollies, you name it. If it's a vibrant, unnatural colour, it likely contains these dyes. Here's what you need to know. These dyes are derived from petroleum. Yes, the same crude oil that gets refined into petrol for cars is also used to make the chemicals that colour your children's breakfast cereal. They're synthesized from petroleum through complex chemical processes. They serve absolutely no nutritional purpose, zero. They don't make food taste better, they don't make it healthier, they just make it look more vivid. So why do manufacturers use them? Because studies have shown that people, especially children, are more likely to buy and eat foods that are brightly coloured. It's pure marketing. Making cereals look like a rainbow and sweets look fluorescent increases sales. That's it. That's the only reason. And here's the truly disturbing part. These artificial dyes have been directly linked to hyperactivity and worsened ADHD symptoms in children. Not from fringe scientists, but by mainstream research. The California Office for Environmental Health Hazard Assessment released a comprehensive report showing that artificial food dyes cause hyperactivity and behavioral problems. About 8% of people with ADHD show significant behavioral worsening when they consume these dyes. Think about that. We're feeding children chemicals that demonstrably make behavioral conditions worse. Also, cereal boxes look more appealing on supermarket shelves. One report described a child whose ADHD symptoms became significantly more manageable after their parents eliminated all foods containing artificial dyes from their diet. The parents had tried medication, behavioral therapy, everything recommended by doctors. But it wasn't until they removed Red 40 and Yellow 5 from their child's diet that they saw real sustained improvement. The child could concentrate better at school, had fewer meltdowns at home, and generally seemed calmer and happier. And all it took was reading ingredient labels and avoiding these petroleum-based dyes. Now here's where it gets even more infuriating. Food companies already know how to make products without these dyes. In fact, many companies that sell products in both the US and Europe use artificial dyes in the UK version and natural colorings in the European version of the exact same product. Why? Because the EU requires warning labels on foods containing certain artificial dyes, stating they may cause hyperactivity in children. Rather than put warning labels on their products, companies reformulated for Europe using natural alternatives like beetroot extract, turmeric and spirulina. But in the UK and the US, where no such warnings are required, they continue using the cheaper petroleum-based dyes. So these companies have already proven they can make the same products without harmful dyes. They're just choosing not to for UK and US consumers because it saves them money. We're being treated as second-class customers who don't deserve the same safe ingredients as Europeans. It's absolutely outrageous. What can you do? Check every label. If you see Red 40, Yellow 5, Yellow 6, or any artificial colors listed, don't buy it.
Look for products that use natural colorings instead: fruits, vegetables, spices. These create colors that might not be quite as fluorescent, but they're infinitely safer. And teach your children that real food doesn't need to look like a cartoon. Bright blue yogurt isn't normal. Fluorescent green drinks aren't natural. The more we normalize realistic food colors, the less power these companies have to manipulate us with synthetic dyes. Number 6. Titanium dioxide, also known as E171. Last but not least, let's talk about titanium dioxide, or E171. This is a white pigment used to make foods look brighter, whiter, and more glossy. It's added purely for cosmetic reasons. It makes icing whiter, makes sweets shinier, makes sauces more opaque. That's it. No nutritional value, no taste benefit, purely visual. Here's where this gets absolutely mental. Titanium dioxide is the same ingredient used in white paint. Yes, the paint on your walls. It's also used in sunscreen to block UV rays. It's in cosmetics to create opacity. And it's a key ingredient in making paper bright white. The pigment that creates industrial-strength white paint is also in your food. The chemical that creates industrial-strength white paint is being added to products you eat. This isn't an ingredient that naturally occurs in food. It's a mineral that's been processed into an ultrafine powder and mixed into your meals to make them look more appealing.
The European Food Safety Authority concluded that titanium dioxide could no longer be considered safe as a food additive. They cited concerns about DNA damage and potential cancer risk. The entire European Union banned it from food. That ban went into effect across Europe, but in the UK and the US, it's still completely legal. Food manufacturers can add it to sweets, baked goods, sauces, processed cheese, chewing gum, and more. No restrictions. One mother described how she thought she was doing everything right. She bought organic yogurt, whole grain bread, protein bars marketed as healthy. She'd cleaned up her family's diet considerably, but she was still having unexplained gut inflammation and digestive issues. When she finally did a proper audit of everything she was eating and checked every ingredient list thoroughly, she found 12 different products she consumed daily contained titanium dioxide. 12! Her healthy protein bars, her organic yogurt, her whole grain crackers, all of them had E171. When she eliminated those 12 products from her diet, within 3 weeks her digestion improved by around 70%. Now, she still did other gut healing protocols, but removing the titanium dioxide was the breakthrough that made everything else work. And here's what makes this so insidious. Titanium dioxide is often hidden under vague labeling. Sometimes it's listed as E171. Sometimes it's grouped under artificial colors without specifying which ones. Sometimes it's not clearly listed at all because it's considered a processing aid rather than a direct ingredient. So you could be consuming it without even realizing it. What can you do to avoid this? Read labels obsessively. Look for titanium dioxide, E171, or the term artificial colors. If you see any of those, put the product back. Choose products with natural colorings. Look for things colored with beetroot powder, turmeric, spirulina, paprika extract, anything that sounds like an actual food rather than a chemical compound. And question why your food needs to be colored at all. Real cheese doesn't need added whiteness. Real bread doesn't need to be brighter. If a product requires artificial coloring to look appetizing, maybe it's not worth eating in the first place. Now here's the thing, it's not just one chemical. It's the cumulative effect of all of these toxins working together that creates the perfect storm of inflammation and dysfunction in your body. When you're eating bread with azodicarbonamide, cereal with BHT, yogurt with titanium dioxide, and washing it all down with a diet drink sweetened with aspartame, you're exposing yourself to multiple petroleum-derived and industrially sourced chemicals at every single meal. Your body is resilient, but it's not designed to process this chemical onslaught day after day, year after year. These additives build up in your system, they're stored in your fat tissue, they accumulate in your organs, and over time the cumulative burden becomes too much. That's when you start seeing the unexpected serious health issues. I'm not saying you can avoid every harmful chemical in modern life. That's impossible. We live in a world where environmental toxins are everywhere. But what I am saying is that you can significantly reduce your exposure by being more aware of what you're putting in your mouth 3 times a day, every day.
The food industry created budget lines specifically for struggling families and filled them with the lowest quality, most chemically laden ingredients possible. And they've done all of this while actual real food, fresh vegetables, unprocessed meat, proper bread from bakeries has become more expensive and less accessible. That's not an accident. That's a system designed to keep people buying processed food because processed food has better profit margins than fresh food. So when I call out these chemicals and these practices, I'm not calling out the people who buy these products. I'm calling out the companies that make them and the regulatory system that allows them. You deserve better. Your children deserve better. And the fact that better options are more expensive is a policy failure, not a personal one. But awareness is the first step. When you know what these chemicals are, when you understand that they serve no purpose except to make manufacturing easier and products look more appealing, you can start making different choices. Maybe you can't eliminate every exposure, but you can reduce it. And when it hits their bottom line, that alone has the potential to turn the tides of our supermarket shelves. When enough people refuse to buy products with these chemicals, when enough people demand transparency and safety, they'll reformulate. They've already proven they can do it for Europe. They just need to be forced to do it for us too. If you found this helpful, do me that favor I asked for at the start. Hit that like button and smash the hype button right now. The hype button is crucial because it tells the algorithm this video is valuable and worth promoting. The more people who hype this video in the first few hours, the more people it reaches, and that means more families making better informed choices at the supermarket, more pressure on manufacturers to reformulate, and more momentum towards actually changing these policies. Also, drop a comment below letting me know what you think. Have you been consuming any of these additives without realizing it? Are you going to start checking labels more carefully? I read every comment, and I genuinely want to know what you think. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel because I'm doing more videos like this, exposing the truth about what we're really eating and holding these corporations accountable. Until next time, read those labels, question why UK standards are lower than Europe's, and protect your plate.